What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Johnny back with part 2 of the unboxing and review of the latest Elvis release, Elvis Presley Sunset Boulevard. But before we get started with that, I just want to share with you guys, I did receive the new Graceland exclusive vinyl of the same set, the Highlights vinyl. So I'm going to show you this just really quick. As you all know, again, if you guys know my channel, I don't take the shrink off. I don't ever open my exclusive Graceland ones. I usually just open up the regular retail version, which is back there, you see right here. And I usually keep this one sealed, but I'll show you the hype sticker and stuff. So here's the hype sticker. I'll just show you the front again real quick. And I'll read the hype sticker for you guys on this one. So Elvis Presley Sunset Boulevard, highlights of Elvis's 1972 to 75 recordings at RCA's legendary Sunset Boulevard studio. Featuring a selection of masters and outtakes, newly mixed with overdubs by Grammy Award-winning producer Matt Ross Bang. You know, it always says that in the title. I really got to look up and see what he won an award for. I'm really curious. You know, see it all the time on every one of these releases. Includes Burning Love, Always on My Mind, Separate Ways, Trouble, and many more. Graceland exclusive, Lemonade and Orange Crush vinyl. So there you go with that. And they have look like they have their own little UPC special sticker for the Graceland exclusive right there. Hopefully you guys got yours and they didn't come damaged. Sometimes that can happen, and I feel bad for people when that happens to them. So moving forward, let's get started with our review of this release. So I'm going to review the packaging, what I thought about it, the booklet, and of course the most important part is probably the music. So let's just get started. First, let's look at the cover. So the cover is presented very nicely. I really do like it. It looks like the same theme, almost like Elvis Memphis. The only small gripe and complaint that I have is I like the picture itself, but the way the picture is presented, it looks like Photoshop isn't the right word. I want to say enhance, but it's enhanced to the point that you lose the originality of the picture. If you look at Elvis's, face and everything, it's all just very sleek. Like, you don't see the texture. Like, usually you see the texture on his skin and all that stuff. I mean, I think it's cool how they, faded people in the background. They put him in the forefront, which is cool. But the way they enhanced him, the image of Elvis himself, is kind of, I don't know. It looks like just too enhanced. It doesn't look natural. It takes away the originality, if that makes sense. But there is more. So, back here, guys, I mean, let's be real. This can't be a Sony Legacy release without some mistakes. I mean, come on. Come on. You guys saw it coming. Every release, no matter if it's Sony Legacy, no matter if it's FTD, it just makes the release better. So let's check them out. I'm gonna point them out really quick to you guys. So on disc 2, when it's talking about the outtake highlights, on track 4, Burning Love, it says takes 3 and 4, which that's incorrect. It's just take 2. There's mistake number 1 on the cover. But you know what? There's even more beyond this cover, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And the next mistake I found is on disc 5. The opening tracks 1 and 2 of the both different versions of It's Midnight from the Rehearsal on disc 5. If you look where it says It's Midnight, I'm going to try to show you guys. It says It's Midnight, and then there's like a capital, a capitalized I. I don't know if it's supposed to be a 1 or a capitalized I or what. But I thought maybe because, there's It's Midnight on track 1 and It's Midnight on track 2. So I thought maybe they meant to put 1 and 2. But I don't think that's the case either, because other tracks on here, like Softly As I Leave You, If You Love Me, Let Me Know, they don't have that on there. Because they have 2 separate tracks for those, but that's not on there. So I guess that's not the case with that. I think it's just a mistake. So there's 2 mistakes. If I miss any mistakes on this cover, y'all let me know. Put them in the comments. I'm really curious how much more mistakes there are. Next is the tri and gatefolds that hold the CDs. These are really cool. It's kind of what we expect from Sony Legacy. Inside, they look like the session boxes and stuff. There's an image of the studio itself on Sunset. This is an image of Elvis in 72. Good stuff. Nice. This is cool, but these are like the rehearsal discs. Pictures of Elvis from 1970. Again, what we expect from Sony Legacy. Good choice of photos. That's a good one right there. Same with this one on the back. So this is him in like 1970 at that recording studio getting ready to rehearse for That's the Way It Is Las Vegas season. I call them the things that hold the CDs. These are presented very good. Of course, you know, as usual, mentioned in almost every review I've done that has these type of things that the discs sit in. Wish they would just have like the plastic insert on here with the jewel case part type thing that holds the disc. They've gone away from that. I don't think it's coming back. It's a shame because less of a chance these discs get damaged. So there you go. So that's another small complaint I always put in there. But other than that, good stuff. Up next, let's talk about the booklet. So here's the booklet. Here's the front cover. Here's the back cover. Again, just like with the front cover, this picture, you can see it's like super enhanced. The book itself, it was great. I enjoyed it very much. I learned a couple of things in here, which I thought was kind of cool. Two things. One thing I remember, I think is actually kind of funny. One of the sessions Elvis was recording here, the Beach Boys were also recording in another studio. And I don't know if this is made up or just coincidental, because I know Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys just passed away. But apparently, Brian Wilson wanted to invite Elvis over to their studio to hang out. And when he did, he asked Elvis, hey, do you mind listening to this track we just recorded? I would like to, you know, let us know what you think. So they let Elvis listen to the track, and they said, so did you like it? He said no. I mean, I think that's kind of funny. And another thing I learned in this booklet was that the song It's a Matter of Time, apparently I think they said it was written by a British songwriter, which I found kind of interesting because the way, I guess probably just the way the song is presented, the way Elvis recorded it, it sounds like it was just from a country songwriter. But that wasn't the case, I think, when I remember reading it. Other things in this book is that, you know, it talks about the typical things where Elvis was at that point of his life, where his head was at musically, or, you know, with his career and his personal life and all that stuff. It talks about, you know, picking his band in the late 60s, it even goes as early as that. And there's little things with the songwriters in here, a little piece from the songwriter stories. Section called Songwriter Stories. I guess some of the people who wrote these songs, they gave their piece to in here. Beautiful photos, beautiful shots they chose. I noticed that in this book, they chose a lot of Keith Alverson's shots. I mean, there's so many in here, which I think if you guys remember some of my other past videos I said, is that I know Keith Alverson because he runs a record show here in Atlanta. So I talk to him pretty often. We always talk Elvis every time I do see him there. Great guy. Awesome dude. There's a lot of his pictures in here. So Keith, if you're watching this video, I don't know if you know, but a lot of your photos are in this book, and it's pretty awesome. Now, let's go to the part I want to complain about this book. And I think a lot of people would agree, because I've seen it on social media posts about this release, is the text. When you go through this booklet, the text looks, you know, nice, big and bold, easy to read. But as you go further into the book, when you get to about page 18, it's a lot thinner. You can see the difference. I mean, look at that. And then look at this. So there's spaces in this book, even on another page, like right here. It looks thicker over here, and then it's thin again over here. It's just very weird. And by the time you get to the track listing, oh my gosh, it's just super thin. So if you don't have the best of eyes, man, it can be hard to see. You probably need some reading glasses or something. Well, going back to the photos, I just want to say, I really do. The photos are really nice what they chose. I don't know if this is a Keith Alverson shot. I thought this is a really cool shot from '74. It's near the back of the book. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And again, like I said, mistakes galore. So let's talk about a couple little mistakes that I found in the booklet itself. Again, just like on the back cover, on disc 2, track 4, Burning Love, it says takes 3 and 4. It's just take 2, as we know. And then on disc 3, with the July 24th, 1970 rehearsal, for example, you know, track 1, That's Alright. It says, from the FTD 3 CD book set, The Way It Was, released August 2001. That is a mistake. It was just a 1 CD set with a book. And I want to say that was the first, an early, if not the first, FTD book. Because I used to own it. Since then, I don't own it anymore. I sold it off. Don't have it in my collection anymore. But that's just a little mistake I caught in there too, is that it talks about it being a 3 CD set with a book, and it's just a 1 CD set with a book. So I just figured I'd point that out too, just to be, I don't know, a jackass, I guess. Now to the probably the most important part of the review, and it is the music. So we're there. This is going to take a little bit, but it's very important. So let's just get started. So as this box set states on the hype sticker, this release was mixed and mastered by Matt Ross Spang, which is true, but he didn't 100% do this box set. He's only done the first 2 discs, basically the stuff that involves the studio stuff, the masters and the outtake highlights. And then disc 3 through 5, those are rehearsals, and those were actually mixed and mastered by Vic Anasini. And those are older masters, but they still sound great because Vic Anasini is awesome. Just like past projects from Matt Ross Spang, I guess for the past about 5 or 6 years now, it really focuses on the undubbed masters. This is basically covering all the material that was recorded at Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California. And the first disc is called The Masters. So these are supposed to be the undubbed masters of these tracks, dating from 72 to 1975. So the first disc has 17 tracks. Now, right off the bat, as a whole, all these tracks, you're probably wondering how they sound. I gotta say, people, these tracks, they sound amazing. They were done great. From what I understand, I know sometimes with the past projects, which I'm probably gonna come back to this later, they got away from in some parts of the box sets, they get away from the concept of being truly undubbed. But from what I hear, these are truly undubbed. And I gotta say, people, they sound amazing. They really pop. They really stick out. They have such a good layered, beautiful sound to them. And Matt Ross Spang is very good. I feel like they're bringing out sounds that you can't hear or that are harder to hear in other people's mixing and mastering from the past. One good example is Burning Love, the opening track. It sounds good. It sounds rich. And I actually hear something in there that you can't hear during the official master recording. Like when it says Burning Love, and then you hear JD's like Burning Love. Like, I never heard that until here. It's just amazing. Another one that sticks out, and it's a beautiful song, and it sounds great here. It just sounds beautifully lifted and awesome. I love this song, and I Love You So. That song is great, and it sounds awesome here. Another song that really sticks out, it just sounds super clear, his vocal, is the song on track 13, Pieces of My Life. That song sounds amazing. It sounds like if you listen to it on a good system, or if you listen to it on a nice pair of headphones, man. I listen to it on my system I have, on my Sony speakers and my Sony receiver, and it sounds like he's in the room. His vocal just sounds really clear. Like the clearest I ever heard it of Pieces of My Life. It just sounds awesome. So this next track I want to talk about, it sticks out like a sore thumb on this set. A lot of people are talking about it. Track 12, Shake a Hand. Shake a Hand, it sounds awesome. It sounds great. But there's this guitar solo thing that's in it that we never heard before. And supposedly, these are the undubbed masters. Because if you go back to 2015, which is still a good release, we got the Legacy edition of Today that had the original undubbed session mixes of Shake a Hand is one of them, because that was part of the Today album. That track is on here, but it doesn't have that little guitar added in there, that electric guitar. Like, it's like a whiny guitar. It's like, be truthful to me. It's just this whiny guitar in between all the lines of the songs. It's crazy. It comes in, I would say, probably on like the second or third line of the song when it opens up. It's just, but there's no rhyme or reason. I was hoping it would explain it in the booklet. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, just yesterday I had a little Q&A at Elvis Week with Matt Ross Spang about this release. And I was hoping they would answer that with Shake a Hand, and they don't answer it there. So it's just an unanswered question, which is a little irritating. It's kind of annoying. I was hoping they would answer it somehow. Maybe it was just another mix that was made of Shake a Hand, or maybe it was turned down. Because maybe they tried it, they didn't like it, so they turned it down, and so they decided to send it here with it turned up. I don't know. Maybe Elvis didn't like it with that guitar, and they maybe thought it sounded better without it. Who knows? We may never know. I don't know. But yeah, but I mean, it doesn't sound bad with that guitar thing going on, but it takes, I think it's going to take some getting used to, if that makes sense. It's not like I'm like, oh my God, it sounds horrible. It just sounds different because you're not used to hearing that sound on the undubbed of Shake a Hand. I'm used to hearing the versions that are on this release. So that was just really interesting. But yeah, disc 1 sounds amazing. Moving on to disc 2. So disc 2 is the outtake highlights. And honestly, you could almost call this disc the first takes, because none of the takes go past take 4, except for the opening track, Separate Ways, which is take 25. Yeah, I guess he must have tried that song a lot. All the takes here on disc 2 have been previously released on other past releases we got through the years. And I think all of them, a majority, if not all of them, are released on these classic album series from FTD of those takes. And some of them were in desperate need of remastering. Specifically the ones on the Elvis Today. This is from 20 years ago. This came out in 2005. It was one of the first classic album series albums that we got on FTD. And again, how do these sound? These outtakes, they all sound amazing. Like, for example, again, with the Today album ones, these on the old classic album series from FTD, the takes on here, they sound so low. I mean, hell, this whole release has such a low mix, so hollow. They sound awesome here. And a big thing that Matt Ross Spang is great at is really turning stuff up in the mix, and you can hear all the chatter and the batter in the background and get that live feel. It just feels so vibrant, and it's lifted. Everything's so lifted up in the mix. I wish I knew his theory of how he does it, but he does a great job at it. And I gotta say, people, all these outtakes, they sound great. They're the best they ever sound, I think, in my opinion. I thought they were great. So disc 2 was awesome. Disc 3 through 5, these are rehearsal discs, because these are the two rehearsals that took place at Sunset Boulevard. So the first one goes from disc 3 and about halfway, or a little bit more than halfway, through disc 4. And this is on July 24th, 1970. This is when Elvis was getting ready for his Vegas engagement, the one that also, as we all know, was during the filming of That's the Way It Is. So this rehearsal is professionally recorded. These next 3 discs are all mixed and mastered by Vic Anacini, so you know they sound great. Disc 3, this rehearsal from July 24th, 1970, it was found in its entirety, or I like to say its most complete form, on here. I had to take all the stuff out. This is a very heavy book CD box set. So that release was on here. That's the Way It Is, the 50th Anniversary Collector's Edition. The 8 CD, 2 big coffee books in this thing. This has been out of print 4 years, basically since it got released. It's very hard to come by now at a good price. I was fortunate to get it. That whole rehearsal is contained on here. So if you have this, you got it. So if you don't own that rehearsal from 1970, you have it here. And I gotta say, when you listen to it, it's a very good rehearsal. You know, of course, rehearsals give you a good idea of Elvis's processes of how he prepared for his upcoming engagements. So now we're going to move on to the second rehearsal. It starts around the end of disc 4, and this is from August 16th, 1974. Again, this is around when he's about to play Vegas, and this rehearsal was in its most complete form at the time, was released on an FTD called From Sunset to Las Vegas, along with like a partially recorded concert from that Vegas engagement from the summer of '74, and this rehearsal was on there at the time. So this wasn't professionally recorded. It was actually on a cassette deck. Everything has been previously released on this box set except for one track. The only track that was previously unreleased anywhere was the opening track on disc 5. It's called It's Midnight. And there's two versions of It's Midnight. There's track 1 and then track 2. He tries it back to back. So the opening track on disc 5 is the only previously unreleased track on this whole box set. Now, I never owned this whole rehearsal, so it's cool that it's on here. But they released back in 2014 on the Legacy edition of Elvis Recorded Live on Stage in Memphis. They released 5 tracks from that rehearsal on that release. They gave you a little selection of this rehearsal on the closing of disc 2 on this release. So it's cool for me to have this rehearsal. I listened to it, and it's a great rehearsal. It's unbalanced because it's just on a cassette deck. There's only so much you could probably do with an old cassette because, you know, the age and deterioration of a cassette. It's not like a master tape. So, but it was a good, it's a good rehearsal. It's cool to hear. The cool things to hear on here is, which has been released for years, but I love his version of the 12th of Never. I think it's a shame that he never got around to recording it. It would have been freaking awesome if he did. I also think it's cool to hear him do If You Love Me, Let Me Know, because I think at this time, really, he wasn't really performing that song yet until maybe 75, maybe 76. So it's really cool to hear Elvis do that. But you know what? That concludes this review of all the music. So now we're going to go to my verdict. So now I'm at my verdict about what I thought about this release. Am I happy that I got it? Is it worth getting? Me, I'm happy that I got it, and I think it's worth getting for really anybody. If you miss any of these releases from RCA or FTD, like the Rehearsal from 1970, you have a Rehearsal here that was on that big expensive box set. The other Rehearsal, if you missed out on getting that old FTD, well, you got it here in a more complete form with an unreleased track that wasn't on that original FTD back in the day. So it's strong with that kind of stuff. It just makes you wonder how complete, of course, those things are, as we all always wonder, because we don't really know if that's the complete rehearsal of those. You know, I just like to think it's the most complete form, of course. And I like that. I really do feel like it's stuck with the concept of staying on doing the undubbed masters, because a couple of these box sets in the past that we got, you know, we got some of these in the past. We got from Elvis in Nashville in 2020. I feel like this stayed good to the concept of, you know, staying away from overdubs. When we got to Elvis back in Nashville, it got away from that concept a little bit. It took some vocals, accompaniment from other people out of the tracks when they were in the studio. And then with this release, Elvis Memphis, it was just a mess. Some stuff didn't make sense. A big track that didn't make sense to me was Don't Cry Daddy, which obviously had a vocal overdub in it. So with this, I really am happy that they stuck with the concept. Now, to say, like it says in the back of this box, this is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Today album. You know, they probably are saying that because this is Sunset Boulevard, and this is really the last studio that Elvis actually worked in an actual studio, because the next sessions after that would be Graceland and the Jungle Room. But this doesn't solely celebrate today, so it's a little misleading. I'm hoping and praying that FTD will do like a sessions box and have all the stuff from 75, all the masters, all the outtakes that's available. I don't know how many outtakes are available. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a big bootleg guy. Maybe there's some that are out there on bootleg that RCA and Sony haven't really presented to us officially. But I really would like to see the Today album celebrated properly, and hopefully FTD will do that before the year is out. hopefully it's in the can for the Elvis Today album. If not, hopefully next year at least, before the end of I don't know. I would just really like to see a more proper celebration of the Today album, because I feel like it's sort of looked over. I mean, the last time we really got, I guess what you can say, a proper celebration of it was, you know, the legacy of the Today album, the Sons of the Legacy edition, or from 20 years ago, the classic album series that needed an upgrade really bad. And we got it here on those outtakes, which is most, not all, but most of the outtakes, and they sound great. So yes, I do recommend this. I think that people should get it. If you're not a completist, I think it's good to get it, because if you don't have some of these things on here, like I said, but it is a little pricey. This is it's a 5 CD set, so it's $80. It's about the price of an FTD Sessions box set that's a 5 CD set. So these have gone up a lot, even through Sony Legacy. Because it used to be these 5 CD sets were maybe $50, I would say, no more than that. So they have gone up, probably because the price of everything else going up, just like everything else in the world. But yeah, this is a good solid release. I totally recommend it. I got mine off Amazon. You can get yours on there. And also, if you get the regular version of the Highlights vinyl, it's about $40 on Amazon as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I gave you guys some good information, and I hope I just help you guys decide if you want to get it or not. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really enjoyed doing this review. Thank you for making part 1 really successful. It's only been up for a little bit over than a week, and it has over 1,000 views, so I do appreciate you guys. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Check out the links in the description of this video, and I will pin my part 1 of this unboxing of this release in the comments. So check that out too if you haven't. Again, thank you guys for watching this video. And hopefully I'll see you guys sooner than later, because I really do enjoy doing this. And thank you guys for all the kind words, all right? Appreciate you. See you all next time, and see you later, and goodbye.